Welcome to the Principles of Success. My name is Nathan, and this is Season 1, Episode 25. And today we are talking about working hard, which I am doing by recording all of these in one day. It used to be that I was barely struggling to do enough to keep up with this, but because of me getting better at it, it takes significantly less time for me to do it than it used to. I used to spend like 50, 60 minutes on editing. One of them took like 90 minutes. Now it takes me a couple minutes because I figured out some cool little tricks where I can do this, cut out all sorts of stuff automatically, and voila. And then I just kind of review it and make sure everything's going smooth. So that's the nice thing about slowly getting better. And because I still have that same level of work ethic that it took to get going originally, now I can get ahead on it and then start working on something else. Back to the law of the harvest season. So we're talking about work, and first thing I want to talk about is something we've already talked about. Gotta love what you do. We're talking about passion again. And it is so important. There's a reason why successful people constantly talk about following your passions. It's because all of these principles rely on passion to make it easier. So, again, we've already talked about it, but some of you might not have heard it before, so we're going to talk about it again. The reason why passion is so important is because as you use your limited amount of energy that you have each day, it becomes harder and harder to make good decisions, to put in that work. Work is basically the act of discipline. So go watch the discipline episodes and go watch the action episodes as well. So as you pursue what you're going after, you get weaker and weaker in your ability to make good decisions. So it is important that you enjoy what you do, because if you enjoy what you do, it's easier for you to convince your brain, who's tired, that you should do it even though you're tired. And next thing I want to talk about is also what we talked about. I told you all the principles are connected. And it's that you got to do the hard things. And even though enjoying what you do is very important and working hard when you enjoy what you do is so much easier, every job is going to have aspects in it that you are not going to like. And so that's where hard work comes in. You have to be willing to just do it anyway, even if you don't want to, because odds are the number of days that you want to do stuff and the number of days that you don't are going to be way out of skew. You're going to want to relax, take it easy, enjoy yourself more than you are going to want to put in the hard work. But if you want to be successful, if you want a happy relationship, if you want finance, if you want to be healthy, if you want to be happy, you have to put in the hard work. You have to be willing to do the hard things now, so that way you can have an easy life tomorrow, or you can do the easy things now and have the hard life tomorrow. It's your choice. I like having things easy, so I'm going to do things hard. Back to contradictions. So you have to be also willing to pay the price. If you're not willing to, if the reward is not worth it to you for the hardship that you're going to go through as you progress, as you grow, then you're going to quit. Back to persistence. If you don't have a reason why big enough that'll make you put in the hard work, then you're not going to do it. And hard work is just a muscle. It's a skill that you can learn. Everyone can learn to work hard. Everyone can learn to be lazy. The hardest working people can become lazy, and the laziest people can become the hardest working people. I think I work pretty hard. I was super lazy growing up. In fact, some of my vocabulary in my speech patterns still reflects how lazy I was. like I'll talk about, that's a lot of effort and stuff like that. So it's important to cultivate that skill of hard work. And this is where I get to brag about my dad for a little bit. My dad is by far the hardest working person I have ever seen in my life. And there's a lot of hardworking people. But when I was first starting up my marketing agency, I actually called my dad and went, how on earth did you do it? Because growing up, he had a full-time job, plus he was full-time college, 2 hours away. Plus he had a house that was utterly destroyed because they didn't have the money to get a decent house. So he would, a lot of times, get up at 4 in the morning, or for years, this is what he did. He'd get up at 4 in the morning, drive to Stillwater, which was 2 hours away, go to school. At the end of the school day, he'd drive back to Tulsa, where we lived, work for another 8 hours at his job, come home, go to sleep, go back to school. And then on the weekends, he'd catch up a little bit on his sleep, and then work on projects to keep the house functioning, because the house was always falling apart, because it was a pretty crappy house. And so for years, he operated off of just a couple hours of sleep. And honestly, it probably screwed his health up a little bit, but that's the level of hard work that he was willing to do to be able to take care of his family and to get himself into a position where it would be easier for him to take care of us in the future. I grew up very, very poor. My parents make pretty decent money at this point. But just because you make decent money doesn't mean you have decent money. I'll talk about more on that when we talk about finances. Anyway, he worked really, really hard. He still works really, really hard. Even though he's not in school anymore, he works for 8 hours, and then he comes home and he works on projects for several more hours. And then he has some enjoyment in the evening, like he'll play some video games or something like that. But he still works extremely hard. And the truth is, he was also lazy when he was growing up. He needed to learn how to work hard when he had a family. And apparently, having family that is dependent on you is a great motivator. And that's where motivation comes in with hard work. If you have the right motivation, if you have the reasons why that you need to work hard, then you will be able to do things that seem impossible because your will is so strong. And then the next thing I want to talk about is one more thing that we've already talked about, and it is priorities. And the next thing I want to talk about is something we already talked about. Work is and the next thing I want to talk about is another thing that we have already talked about, and it is priorities. You got to make sure that you're doing what is most important for your success. Whatever success means to you, whether it's happiness, wealth, whatever. You have to make sure that what your actions are line up with what you want. Because you can work really, really hard at a video game, and it can be a complete waste of time. But there's people who make lots of money playing video games. So, it depends. A lot of circumstances of success, it depends. Is it a waste of time for me to read fantasy books? No, because I'm researching for my fantasy writing career. Is it a better use of my time in some aspects to work on money-making activities? Most likely, because money's useful. So, it all depends. But you have to make sure that your priorities, you have to make sure your actions line up with your priorities. You have to make sure that when you work hard, you're working hard at what you should be working hard at, not working hard at something that really is meaningless. So make sure that you work hard on the things that are important. Make sure that you're willing to cultivate that skill of working hard. And it's so much easier when you're doing what you love, because even when you're tired and cranky but you feel like it's important and it should be done, then you're going to do it anyway. My legs hurt. I've been standing for a long time now. It's hot. It's summertime. I want to go outside and have fun. But because I think that the principles of success, me sharing what I have learned with you guys, is important, I'm going to put in the hard work to make sure that you guys get this information, and hopefully it is of some benefit to you guys. And if it is, please let your loved ones hear it too. Share it with them. Some of them might not care. Share it with other ones. The people who need to hear it generally will hear it. The people who are not ready to hear it won't. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you force them to listen to it. They still won't hear it. So if it's of value, please share it. And if you have any tips on how I can improve, any tips on what I should be doing differently, and all sorts of, and just let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Contact me on Instagram. That's the easiest way, and it's Nathan Dickeson, and it's NathanDickeson. So, with that, I will see you all next week.